everybody. My name is Alan Fair of Real Live Entertainment. Welcome back to Beyond 2020, where we speak with event professionals, finding out about how COVID has impacted them and their industry, and where they see hope for the future, what they see coming down the line. I recently had the opportunity to speak with my friend Garry Koop. He is the lead pastor at the Steinbach EMC Church on Main Street here in Steinbach. We spoke together just before the holidays, and the first 5 minutes of that video file are corrupted and unusable, but I was able to salvage the rest of it for you to hear about how he sees events changing in the future. We just finished speaking about how churches are so much more than simply what happens in the building on any given Sunday. That throughout the week, the church is really a community center of sorts for so many different groups to be meeting in and using. So enjoy my conversation with Mr. Garry Koop.
That's such a great reminder that a church is, serves as an event center for a lot of people beyond just Sundays. That there's so much more going on than what people might experience just on a Sunday morning.
Yeah. Like the soccer thing, we partner with Eastman Immigration Services and another church locally here. So indoor soccer is happening here. Sometimes 15, 20 countries are represented in our gymnasium. They're playing soccer. Blood donor drive is happening twice a month here. Now that is still going on. But pretty much everything else has stopped.
Wow. So then, like, what have been some of the tools that you as an organization, as a facility, have investigated and found useful during this time to pivot, to use a
right, exactly. Yeah, good. Again, that's another phrase that is really a word that is really sort of shining and come to the forefront again, that word pivot. And it's true, there's a lot of shifting or pivoting. And so for us, it is a challenge. It's challenging our creativity. So it's for us, we needed to move past the question of, do we like this, or oh no, and all of that, to, given this is the circumstance, what can we do? And we need to shift, we need to adjust. And so that, I think for people doing events, that is the challenge, is really to really lean into your creativity. Where I remember when smartphones came, and then soon after iTunes and Apple Music, and industries were like really concerned, right? The music industry, etc. Okay. But they can pivot, they can shift, they can adjust. And so recently too, with Uber comes on, and in Toronto, the whole cabbies were all like this. And so those are positive movements where they've had to adjust. Here's a negative occurrence, but we still have to adjust. And you could say, well, I don't like it, but you can't put this back. You can't get the Jell-O back in the box. So we've got to adjust. So we turned to, we have a director of worship arts who is responsible for art in all its facets. So we certainly turned to him. We turned to technology and tried to figure out ways of communicating, ways of connecting, and getting creative with ways of doing that. And so even something like this, dude, like what you're doing now is brilliant, and it just moves people to this. So we're still talking, but now we're video. You're going to do live Facebook, and then you said some other things about editing and posting and yada yada. And it's like, yeah, so there you have it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
The
So
world
I
needs
mean, we
creative
still
people.
creative people. Listen, actually, I mean, get me started. The creative people, right? Um, they're they're the ones that they're the ones that the authoritarians are afraid of,
Yeah. So,
because they will speak truth. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry,
um,
I stopped.
it's fine. So how have, from your perspective, how have people adapted, responded? Has there been, how eager are people to embrace these new adaptations? How much resistance has there been to not doing things the old way? Um,
Hmm.
yeah, like how successful has the adaptation been at this point in now December of 2020?
Right, right. Yeah, and there's several factors involved with this. We're really, in one sense, we're really talking about um, change,
Mm,
and people are land differently on the change curve. Some are early adopters, some are late adopters, some are down the middle, um, for various reasons. And so that's one aspect. The other is one about context. When we started this, at least here in southern Manitoba, Canada, when this first came to us in the spring, we were starting from a place where everything was great, and we moved into this.
mm,
So in essence, we were starting in a posture of health and strength. Then we moved into this, we adjust, adapt, etc. But then in the fall here, when we regressed and we went to orange, and then very quickly from orange to red, that this latest change is much more difficult in some ways, because we were somewhat in a prostrate position when this change occurred. It's kind of like we were standing on one leg, or we feel like we're kind of down, and then we got kicked again. So it's more difficult than starting from a place of strength and walking in.
yeah.
So there's certainly some fatigue because of the weight of carrying all of this. Um, and so there's some of that. But I think the other thing is, at least what I see in our congregation, is people are adapting and understanding that fundamentally we need to find ways of connecting with each other.
Mm, mm,
That whether it's a phone call, or whether it's a driving by in a wave, dropping something off on the porch, ring a doorbell, step back, but they're finding ways of connecting with each other. We have adjusted well to live stream meetings, online meetings. People have, initially it started with, I don't like this. And then they realized, I keep saying this thing about dishes. People don't, do you want to do the dishes? No, I don't like to, but let's do them anyway. So they've adjusted in so many ways. People are adjusting
mm.
well,
Nice.
yeah.
So when you look beyond 2020, like what's encouraging? What hope do you see for the future of a facility such as yours that is in a large part to serve groups of people? What do you
Mhm.
see when it comes to being hopeful about things
Yeah.
beyond our current situation?
Um, you know, it's a really good question. One of the things, you and I talked back in the spring when I had just, my wife and I had arrived from Italy, and we were talking, and we had several conversations about what I was learning and observing. And I think that's a healthy thing to do now again. What are we learning? What are we observing? What is the language that we're hearing, the phraseology, pivot, these sorts of things? What are we learning? Because there's a lot that we're discovering and that we're learning. if we take time to make note of it, then those can become some of the good things that come out of this. Okay, so like we can recognize that there's some brokenness and some viruses and sickness, and we recognize that brokenness. We also recognize that we don't like it. We recognize the desperate need for human contact. These are things that are like big, and if we're reflective enough to notice and take note, and what is it? So there's learning that can come out of this, and so when we move into 2021, I'm confident that in the Q1, Q2 of 2021, we will start moving out of this color coding. And I think we're never going to, air quotes, never, life doesn't bring us back to the same place. So we won't trying to say, well, let's get back to the same place. That is not a reality. But a new spot, and maybe it's somewhat similar, but a new spot, taking what we've learned, and then when we do come together, I think if you plan an in-person event in June or July, because we'll start moving in that direction, then tapping into what we've learned through this and maximizing that, then because we're sharing, we have a shared, it's overlap. We're sharing some things in common. And when we bring that to your next live event, it will resonate so profoundly. In a way, it's kind of like primary accurate empathy. If your live event that you're going to have in the spring or the summer leverages off of what you and I are feeling right now, dude, right? Yeah, I think actually it's at times like this, times of crisis, where people are where artists show up, and where societies look to artists. Artists who are, again, people who can tell the truth, who can reflect what's going on, who can express so well. And you can see this. I mean, I'm a Bob Dylan fan, so that's one example of someone who is just able to articulate the ethos of the environment. And so I see that as being a huge opportunity for artists in 2021. And I mean, what is it, considering the timing, when do these things happen, but planning already and looking ahead already to what 2021 can be like.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, thanks so much for your time, Garry. I really appreciate it. Really value hearing your thoughts. And here's to the future and the great things that are in store for us down the road.